I'm sure growing up you collected Pokemon cards, and just recently you guys have been hearing a lot of news of how these cards might be worth a lot of money. So you pull out your old collection and you find out you have some first editions or some base set or vintage cards. Well, you take a closer look and it turns out a lot of them are damaged, creased, folded, dirty, and just in general not worth selling. Well, in this video I'm going to show you guys how to repair these cards, and actually I've been learning how to repair cards myself because like you guys I have a lot of damaged cards that could use some repairing, and it might actually improve their condition and their monetary value in case you do want to sell them or just preserve them for your own collection as a sentimental value. So what better card to choose than this first edition base set Machamp. So let's take a closer look at the damages and I'll show you guys how I'll be repairing this card. Alright, so I have the card right here, and as you guys can see, it's beat up. I mean, the front isn't terrible, like there's some scratches and a bit of dirt and a bit of whitening here and there, but the back side is even worse. Like check that crease out, it's so bad, it's like it goes all across the top. So that's actually something that I'm going to try and repair, and I'll show you guys. I've been experimenting with a lot of cards and it is possible to at least reduce the creasing of it and almost get rid of it in total. The whitening is not something you could repair unless you take a marker, I guess, and color match it, but that's not recommended because it's very hard to do so. But everything else, for the most part, we could clean up and we could turn this damaged card into probably like a moderately played card, which is a huge plus for a lot of cards, especially vintage era cards, because that bump up in condition could increase the value of the card by about 30 to 50% depending on how well of a job you do it, especially if you take it from like a damaged condition card all the way to like a light plate or even near mint. It is possible, it just has to be a card with very little whitening, and then it could be classified as light plate. So the first thing we'll do is actually clean up the card, and the way I'll do it is with a little bit of spray. So there's no magic spray, honestly. From the research I've done, I didn't really buy a spray. This is just a mixture of a bit of rubbing alcohol and distilled water. So just have a mixture of that and you'll have a card spray where you could clean up the dust and where you could clean up the dirt off your card. Just apply a very small amount on a sponge or these sticks that I bought from a repair kit, and that's all you need. Clean up the card and then wipe it with like a microfiber cloth so you get rid of all that debris before we do the next step. Apply a very small amount on the stick just to wet it, just so it's a bit damp. And before we even do that, we could just wipe up the card just to see if we could get anything off with a dry cloth, like a dry microfiber cloth. Try to clean up your surface area and honestly test it out with some cheaper end cards or lower end cards. Even like energy cards, you could try out just getting it dirty and seeing how it cleans off. Different methods, because the last thing you want to do is damage an expensive card. So just quickly wipe this down. I didn't really show you guys, but there, it's not too bad. Like, I mean, there is some like dirt that's stuck on there, so we're gonna try to clean that off. The front, you guys could see that dot. I'm almost positive I could get rid of that, and just overall do a quick clean before we do our next step. So we got a wet sponge, just lightly wet it. Everything has to be done with care and with patience. You guys could see it's pretty much off, so just probably scratch it a little bit more. With the microfiber we should do a good job. There you go. Sometimes it's stuck on there, so you need to use a bit of force, but for the most part you don't want to scratch it even further. So let's just do a quick wipe down of this card with the wet sponge, and then we'll go on to the back. Now this solution, like I said, is just some distilled water and rubbing alcohol. You want the alcohol so it dries up quickly, and the distilled water, you could use regular water, it just that has a bit of a residue, so that's why distilled water is recommended for a lot of these repair jobs. It just means there's no minerals, so there's no mold or buildup. Alright, so we cleaned up the front and now let's go on to the back. So card repair is actually a very tedious process because depending on how bad the card condition is, you need to do a lot of work, a lot of passes on it, and you don't want to force it because it's going to damage the card. So you just want to kind of dampen it a little bit, like what I'm doing right here with the sponge. So once you're done cleaning it, you got to wipe it down with the microfiber so you don't leave too much water on it, and that should get rid of all the dust, debris, and anything on the back. Alright, so for the most part I did the trick of cleaning off those little particles and stuff that were stuck on the card. Now let's go on to the next step. All right, so the next step is to use one of these guys. So this is called a cigar humidor. Basically, it's a box that creates humidity, mainly used for cigars. However, it works great for Pokemon cards as well because adding that humidity to the cards will soften it, and once you clamp it down, which is our next step, it will get rid of those creases that we don't like and we want to get rid of. What I'm going to be doing is putting it inside one of these guys. So I'll show you guys the exact process. So you open it up. How this works is it's this wooden box with that lid on top. This thing is filled with water, distilled water again. You put it inside, and over time it evaporates and creates humidity inside the box. The dice here, that's just so we have a platform for the card to sit on, so it's not laying flat on the wood. But basically we place it inside, we leave it for about 12 to 24 hours, close the lid, and you let the humidity do the trick. All right, so it's been about 12 hours since we put the card inside. So now let's take it out and see the condition. So you guys can see it's nice and warped, it's nice and soft now, so a lot of that creasing should disappear, especially at the next step that I'll show you guys. It's gonna help get rid of all that creasing you guys could see up there, and we'll also try to flatten all those edge lifts and anything else that needs some flattening. So next we need two items to help flatten the card, and it's these acrylic plates. These came in a kit, so these two acrylic plates and these foam pads. So what the foam pads help do is help flatten the card, and all that moisture that's currently on the card, it will help absorb it so it's not like super damp while being clamped down. However, before we do that, we are going to do one thing which is called massaging the card, or like trying to flatten the card so it gets back its memory. So we put it on the flat surface. We could put we'll put a penny sleeve on top of it, and basically take one of these rollers that come in like a face care kit, or even a small stone like this, and just go slowly over that crease just so you can flatten it a little bit before we clamp it down. That way the paper fibers will help remember where to go, and it's called massaging the card. I think that's like a correct term, but basically we'll just do this. We'll just roll it out a little bit like that, not too hard because we don't want to damage it or scuff up the card any further. And we're using the penny sleeve so we don't make direct contact on the card, and penny sleeves generally are super clean, and just rolling it out over that crease so you're just applying light pressure. We're not trying to get out the crease right away, and we'll just do the front as well, just so it's on both sides, although the creasing was mainly on the back of the card versus the front, so it's not super important, but this will also help flatten it from the front side as well. And that edge lift, we'll just try to flatten that a little bit. All right, so far that's the progress. Next, let's clamp it down and leave it for a couple of hours to see how well it does. So to clamp it down, we're going to place it on the foam pad right in the middle so we have even pressure all over. Put the other pad on top, and the plates will go on the outside. And for the clamps, we're going to use these guys. Like I said, I bought a kit so it all came together. I kind of do recommend you guys to buy a kit just so you have all the supplies, but if you could source all these individually, that also works. You don't really need to buy an expensive kit. Not saying that this was expensive, but I mean, like, you don't need to spend money if you could source the plates and the foam yourself and you have clamps laying around. Like, if you have tools around your house, you could definitely use that, but we'll just evenly put this around. So speaking of tools, I also had this clamp laying around, so what I do is I put this heavier clamp in on the area that's the most creased, so this was the top of it. So we'll just clamp it down, that way the most pressure is on the top, so that will help flatten it the most. Usually this has helped me more than just putting even distribution. This heavier clamp will help clamp that side down, and that's about it. So we'll leave that for a few hours or maybe 12 hours, and we'll get back to it and see how well it does. Alright, so it's been about 8 hours since I clamped down the card, so let's take a look at it and see the progress. So for the moment of truth, let's take a look. Alright, so that's actually not that bad. So the crease did sit down a bit. I think I have to do another pass on the humiditor and then clamping it down one more time, or probably a few more passes just to get rid of it fully, but it did reduce it significantly. It's not as apparent. It did clamp it down. There is still a bit of a crease because I probably need to leave it for a full 24 hours to really clamp down the card and get all that moisture out. Now the next step is to apply a bit of polish to get rid of the scratching on the hollows. Alright, so to apply some polish, I just had this car polish laying around, so this works well, but if you do want some professional polish, you could also buy like some card grade polish. I think it's all the same, but this also worked. I've tried this before on a card and it did the job, so this polish for cars also works, just like that, as you guys can see. And we're just gonna go over the holo foil. just in small circles, mainly on the foil and not the actual Machamp card like Pokemon. Apply that like that, so we get even distribution all over. So the point of this is to get rid of those scratches on the holo foil, or kind of diminish them and fill them in a little bit. The polish also kind of grinds it down so it's a lot smoother, and just the typical features of a polish to kind of get rid of the scratches, or just gentle swirls all over so we get rid of all those scratches. Alright, so we applied the polish on it and it did reduce a lot of those scratches, except the big ones that are harder to get rid of. These are tough scratches, but the light surface scratches are all pretty much gone, and it looks a lot shinier compared to previously, compared to before we applied the polish. So really cool there. These tough scratches like that, super hard to get rid of those. I don't know how you would theoretically, but the polish is great for those surface level scratches. Alright, so you guys saw the whole process of how I repair Pokemon cards. So basically, first clean it up, apply some humidity. If you have a humidor, that's perfect. Then compress it so you get rid of all the creases, and finally apply some polish, especially if it's a mid-era or vintage card like these ones that have the holo foil in the frame like this. And that's basically the whole process. So hopefully this video was useful for you guys, and if you guys want, I'll probably do a follow-up video to this of another card that I pick up that's probably a bit damaged, and I'm going to repair it. As I keep on learning better tricks and how to do it and improve on my process, I'll teach you guys, and yeah, so we'll learn together. So as always, that's the video. If you guys liked it, please drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new here, and share this video with anyone that wants to learn how to do some card repair. Thank you guys for watching.